How's it flying, guys? Lance Corporal Hawk 30, and welcome back to some more Fat Electrician. This is his video on most comical invasion ever. How America captured Guam without landing a single shot. This sounds very fascinating. I've never heard of this happening. I don't know the history of it, so it's like, okay, I'm about to learn me something. So we're going to learn something new together, peoples. However, hopefully you would have learned it before I learned it, because hopefully you did follow the rules and clicked on the link in the description, or erstwhile made sure that you saw the Fat Electrician's original video before watching my reaction. That's always my policy. Please make sure you guys always watch whatever I'm reacting to before you watch a reaction to it. It's always good policy. So, I don't have any long stories this go around, although my brain is being frozen right now. I don't have any long stories this time, so not a very long intro compared to last time, which last time, you know, I was more than willing to hold on. That's a little quiet. That's a little too quiet. Okay, there we go. That's a little better. That's a little better. So, but anyways, although I hope everyone that did watch the previous reaction did enjoy the story that I told at the beginning of the Butch O'Hare video. I do hope you guys enjoyed that, and if you didn't, please go watch that. If you hadn't heard it already, it'll give you goosebumps. But I'm not going to waste any more time. Most comical invasion ever, how America captured Guam without landing a single shot. With that out of the way, link to the original video will be in the description. As with all my reactions, please make sure you've seen it before you watch my reaction to it. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and go.
Most of my videos are done on stories that I think would make great movies, and this one's really no different, except this one should be a Mel Brooks style comedy.
You have me. The fuck? I guess I pushed a button on accident. But, Mr. Electrician, sir, fellow fatness, you had me intrigued at Mel Brooks. I can't wait.
We're talking about the chillest, most nonchalant invasion of all time, when America acquired Guam, or when America acquired Guam the first time. But first, a word from our sponsors. This video is brought to you by Ridge Wallet. Okay, let me break this down for you. Father's Day is coming up, and your dad's back. It hurts, okay? A, he's been carrying you through life this entire time, and B, he's been suffering from a horrible case of dad wallet. I mean, look at this monstrosity, your dad's old school trifold leather wallet. It looks like he's walking around with a Gutenberg Bible in his back pocket, and every time he sits down, he's got that thing underneath one butt cheek. It's throwing his hips out of alignment.
I think I only had a wallet in my back pocket for like a few months when I was in high school. And then I heard a youth pastor, we always had a Wednesday night youth group. Our youth pastor told us about a time where he was in, I can't remember if it was San Francisco, somewhere in California, I think. And made mention of how he was told to do something for like a street performance or whatever. So he was told to lay down, but then he remembered, oh, wait a minute. A lot of people like to pickpocket during those scenarios. So he moved it from his back pocket to his front pocket. And that made so much sense to me. It is harder to pickpocket somebody when you're trying to swipe it from them from the front. So always keep your wallet in your front pocket. Why put it in the back pocket that you're also going to be sitting on it and, like he said, just throwing shit out of alignment. Just have scoliosis by the time you're in your 30s. Like, all right, Frank, how you doing? Oh, wallet.
It's no wonder his back hurts. I mean, this is ancient technology right here. Why are we still doing this? Every time your dad goes to pay for something, he has to pull this brick out of his back pocket, unfold a dead cow just to get to his credit card. Okay, it's some type of weird origami project. Get rid of it. Get your dad a Ridge wallet for Father's Day. They're 40% off right now. And then tell him to put it in his front pocket so his back feels better. So again, go get your dad a Ridge wallet for Father's Day.
Pocket,
he's actually going to use for once. They're on sale right now. I'll have a link in the description down below. Let's get back to the video. Our story takes place in 1898 during the Spanish-American War. Now, most people know almost nothing about the Spanish-American War, so real quick, oversimplified version of what's going on. America is basically the new kid on the block trying to establish itself as a world power, and the Spanish Empire has been struggling for a long time. And for the 3 years leading up to this, the Spanish colony of Cuba has been leading a revolution trying to kick out the Spanish. And America has been backing this revolution pretty much from the start for a couple of reasons. One, America at this point in time just doesn't like European colonial powers being anywhere near them whatsoever. And two, if they can beat up on the Spanish and make them kind of forfeit their empire, hopefully it'll create a power vacuum and America can fill that, thus becoming a world power. Because of that, America starts sending warships over to Cuba to protect American interests, aka they were probably giving a bunch of guns and ammo to the Cuban revolutionaries to fight off the Spanish. Then on February 15th,
it's so interesting to see how long America exactly has been using that tactic.
1898, a U.S.
doesn't always work
USS
out.
Maine blows up inside the harbor in Havana, killing 268 American sailors and sinking to the ocean floor. Now, as we all know, this is like the biggest cardinal sin on the planet.
Yep, the boats.
America's boats. The problem is we don't know who fucked with the boat necessarily. So the U.S. government and the U.S. media get together and they're like, well, if we don't actually know who did it, we're just going to blame it on whoever is most convenient for us, that being the Spanish, because we want to go to war with them. So that's what they do. The U.S. media pushes it out to the American people that the USS Maine was sunk by the Spanish. The American people are now pissed off, and now America declares war on Spain. Now, to be completely fair, the sinking of the USS Maine is still controversial to this day. It has been investigated and studied and theorized to death at this point. I think the Spanish government, the American government did investigations right after it happened. The American government then did another investigation like 10 years later. Then they did another investigation in the 1970s, and then National Geographic's done an investigation, and it all comes down to nobody actually knows what happened, but there's two going theories. Theory number one, and the one that I believe in the most, is that it was an internal explosion, meaning that it was more than likely an accident and the American government just took advantage of the accident.
Our bad, your fault. This is like, I know I'm the one that messed up, but I'm still going to blame you. It's like, I don't know. The analogy I was going to use was one of an abusive parent, but I don't know if that is exactly one-to-one. It's like, I burned my hand touching the stove. Child! Not exactly one-to-one comparison, but it was the first thing that popped in my head.
Accident as an excuse to enter the war. So why do I believe that? Well, it's Occam's razor. The simplest answer is probably the correct answer. The USS Maine is a coal-burning ship. Coal is combustible, and it emits methane, which is a flammable gas, and it's also full of black powder to be able to shoot the guns.
Yeah.
And it's parked inside of a port of a country that is world-renowned for its cigars, okay? It's probably one big accident, and the crew fucked up.
Yeah.
Now, theory number two, and this is where all the conspiracy theories come in. It was an external explosion, meaning that it had to have been an underwater mine, meaning that somebody had to have deliberately blown up the USS Maine. Now, there's three parties involved, and it would have had to have been one of those three, obviously, right? It A, was Spain blowing up an American ship for supporting the Cuban Revolution. It B, was the Cubans knowing that America would assume that it was Spain so that America would join in.
That's some 4D chess right there.
Or C, it was America blowing up its own ship in a false flag operation to have an excuse to enter the Spanish-American War.
I wouldn't put it past them. I would not put it. False flags. There's a whole rabbit hole in and of itself that we are not going to go down in this video. I have no interest in being deleted.
Now, out of those three, obviously, A, the Spanish did it, is what the American government went with at the time, you know, so they could enter the war because they wanted to, basically using it as an excuse, or maybe they actually thought that. Who knows? B, nobody actually really believes the Cubans did it. That's just, I don't know, like an offshoot theory. C, that America launched a false flag operation is a very trendy conspiracy theory that all kinds of people, including history teachers that I have went out and said. Now, I want to be very clear about this. There's zero fucking evidence to support this theory. Absolutely none. That's not true because it's actually the Cuban government's official stance that America did blow up the USS Maine, and even the statue in Havana honoring the USS Maine says that the crew were victims to imperialist greed. Yeah.
Let me guess. This was erected during the communist regime, wasn't it? He's about to go on that tangent. I feel it.
And the Cuban government has no evidence to back that up, meaning that it's just an opinion. And guess what? I don't give a flying fuck about the opinion of the communist government of Cuba. And neither should anybody else, because when you have a million people that flee your country by any means necessary, and I mean any means necessary, they're making their own boats. There's people that are hang gliding all the way to Florida.
Damn!
People willing to do that to get away from your government policies. Maybe, just maybe, you have bad ideas. I mean, literally hundreds of thousands of people have left in a singular...
Let's take a look at that. Okay. All right. Over 460,000 Cubans have arrived in the U.S. or applied for asylum in Mexico in the last 2 years, the equivalent of emptying 2 of the archipelago's 15 provinces. Damn. So those bits of red on the map are for reference into the approximate amount of people that have come. Mayabec, 381,104 is the population, and Isla de la Juventud has 83,853. Those 2 provinces combined is the rough approximation of how many people have fled Cuba. So, and that shit ain't stopped. It's like, communist governments suck. And the sooner communism dies off, the better the world will be.
Year to go to Florida. Okay, Florida has more Cuban refugees than Wyoming has people. Ugh, you're so stupid. If you would open a book once in a while, maybe you would know that Cuba is a communist utopia. They have free healthcare and a 99% literacy rate. Buh.
Yeah, I wonder why. You know why they have the literacy rate? Because if you're not literate enough by the standards of the government, they kill you. To the communist sympathizers, fuck right off. You are apologetics for mass murdering psychopaths. More people died at the hands of communism in the 20th century than died by fucking Adolf Hitler. He wasn't exactly a nice dude either. Fuck you. Do not apologize for communists. And if I get any commies in here, fuck right off. You want to be a communist? You want to apologize for all the atrocities those bullshitters have done? Go move to those countries. Don't bring that shit here.
Oh, so you're telling me all the smart, healthy people that were in Cuba looked around and said, yeah, fuck this, I'm moving to Florida? Maybe they were onto something. Okay, look, all I'm saying is I've never once heard of a Cuban refugee making it all the way to America and then getting told by some communist college student with skittle-colored hair, oh, hey, but you know how to read and there's free healthcare over there. And they're like, oh, fuck, you're right, I should go back. That's never happened.
It ain't happening, bitch.
Well, the only reason that Cuba doesn't do that great is because America has an embargo on them. Buh! And
bullshit!
Embargo just means that America doesn't trade with you, okay? America's one nation, Cuba's one nation. There's 195 of them on the planet. Try doing business with one of the other 193. Okay, look, all I'm saying is it's really hard to claim to be the superior way to run the world when you can't get along without the capitalism there, okay? Right now, it's the geopolitical equivalent of a 20-year-old kid still living at home that's mad at mom and dad for making him get a job, and now he can't pursue his dream of being a Twitch streamer.
Which was Marx. The dude wasted all of his inheritance and then blamed everyone else because he couldn't learn how to be fiscally responsible and was too much of a lazy bastard to try and get a job. That is where communism came from, because that fat Santa Claus looking fuck wanted everything given to him on a silver platter and did everything he could to dress it up as sounding like a good idea. I could keep going, but I don't want to get into... I don't want to cut out his rants on the subject too much. But if he ever sees this, Nick, shit on communists all you want, man. I'm here for it.
Okay, because historically speaking, that's the only way that communism works, is when capitalists are funding it. And if you don't believe me, we can look at all the communist nations on the planet. Okay, there's 5 of them. We got North Korea, Cuba, Laos, Vietnam, and China. The only 2 that you can see from outer space at night are Vietnam and China, and I'm sure it's just a coincidence that they're also the only ones that have a McDonald's and a KFC on every fucking block.
Yeah!
Okay, I'm calm. What was this video about?
Boy. Hey, Brandon! Brandon should have won.
That escalated quickly.
It jumped up a notch.
It did, didn't it?
Sorry, the USS Maine. Very controversial. Regardless, it gets blown up. America uses that as the...
Do not apologize for going on that tangent, Nick. Take every chance you can to shit on communists because they deserve it.
Excuse or the reason to enter the Spanish-American War, declaring war on Spain. So one of the first things that America does is they get a hold of Commander George Dewey. He is the man that is in charge of America's Asiatic fleet, and they are currently stationed in Hong Kong. They go ahead and they give him the order, hey, take the Asiatic fleet from Hong Kong, sail it over to the Philippines, go into Manila Bay, and take the entire thing over, because the Philippines at this point in time is a Spanish colony. So that's exactly what George Dewey does, but before he leaves Hong Kong, he decides he's going to enlist the help of a man by the name of Emilio Alguinaldo, who is currently exiled in Hong Kong because several years prior, he had just led an entire revolution against the Spanish in the Philippines. Now, obviously, you do not see exactly where this is going because America's never, ever done anything like this, ever. You know, definitely not a classic move where we encourage a guerrilla fighting group to overthrow its current government and then we end up fighting that guerrilla fighting group like 10 years later and it's just way worse overall. Anyways, yeah, that's basically what happened.
Yeah.
Happens. Dewey shows up to Manila Bay with the Asiatic fleet. He takes over the bay almost immediately, at which point he sends Emilio ashore. He gathers up some revolutionaries, and they're going to start fighting the Spanish way before the American troops ever even set foot on the ground. Now, at this point, something unexpected happens. The German and the Japanese Navy show up, pretty much for the same reason America's there. They also would like to own the Philippines. So now...
So is this a prequel?
George Dewey just does not have enough men to go around because he has to keep all his men on the boats, potentially ready to fight the Germans and the Japanese in naval warfare if they want to do that, and now he doesn't have any American soldiers to go ashore and help out the guerrillas. So Dewey does the only thing he can do. He requests reinforcements, and it takes about 3 weeks for those reinforcements to even start heading his way. Captain Henry Glass is going to be departing from California in a U.S. cruiser known as the Charleston, and he is going to make his way over to Hawaii, where he is going to pick up and escort 3 troop transports completely full of American soldiers, and that is who is going to go ashore and fight the Spanish in Manila. So that's what he does. He goes to Hawaii, picks up the troop transports, and while he's there, he is given a sealed letter with orders directly from the Secretary of the Navy that he is only supposed to open once he gets underway and out of sight of Hawaii.
It's a secret mission in uncharted space. Let's go!
So now Henry Glass and the men of the Charleston are pumped. They get to go on a super duper top secret mission. So they get out in the open ocean, open up this letter directly from the Secretary of the Navy, and here's what it says. I'm not going to read all that. I'm just going to go ahead and summarize it for you. It's from the Secretary of the Navy, and here's what it says.
I will read all that, just so you guys don't have to get your magnifying glasses out for it. Okay. AD 1892, June, the war with Spain, seizure of the island of Guam. The following order, dated May 10th, 1898, was addressed by the Secretary of the Navy to the commander of the USS Charleston. Upon the receipt of this order, which is forwarded by the steamship City of Pekin to you at Honolulu, is it Pekin or Pekin? You will proceed with the Charleston and City of Pekin in company to Manila, Philippine Islands. On your way, you are hereby directed to stop at the Spanish island of Guam. You will use such force as may be necessary to capture the port of Guam, making prisoners of the governor and other officials and any armed force that may be there. You will also destroy any fortifications on said island and any Spanish naval vessels that may be there or in the immediate vicinity. These operations at the island of Guam should be very brief and should not occupy more than 1 or 2 days. Should you find any coal at the island of Guam, you will make such use of it as you consider desirable. It is left to your discretion whether or not you destroy it. From the island of Guam, proceed to Manila and report to Rear Admiral George Dewey, USN, for duty in the squadron under his command. I recognize the name George Dewey because I've played World of Warships, and he is the default first admiral that you get to attach to your American ships. Whew. And if I'm remembering what the World of Warships bio said, he was the first admiral. He was eventually made it to the rank of Admiral of the Navy, which means he's in charge of all the Navy. I wonder if he's going to touch on that.
I'm not going to read all that. I'm just going to go ahead and summarize it for
you. It
essentially says, hey, on your way to Manila, make a quick pit stop in Guam and take it over real quick. It should only take you a day or two. Chop, chop, hurry the fuck up. So now the crew's super pumped. I mean, they wanted combat. They just got orders to speed run an entire invasion and take over of another country while they're on their way to go invade and take over another country. It's like putting bacon bits on bacon. These guys love it. So the crew starts getting ready. They go and they dig through all the maps and books on the ship, trying to find out anything and everything they can about Guam. And according to the latest intel, granted, it's a couple years old, but damn it, it's the newest intel we've got. We've got to go off of it. There's going to be a Spanish warship there and a couple of forts guarding Guam. It is going to be a fierce fight, and we need to get ready for it. So they start training. They start taking barrels, empty crates, anything they can spare, and throwing it overboard. And once it drifts a couple 100 yards away, they open fire on it with the guns for target practice. And this goes on the entire time. And then finally, June 20th, 1898, they arrive at Guam. It is early in the morning. They're going to attack at first light. 6 a.m. is when they are going to sail in and launch their assault. So it's early morning, it's foggy, the whole crew's on edge, they're ready for combat at any moment, and they're just coming up on Guam, and finally through the fog, they can make out a ship. It's gotta be the Spanish warship, right? It's guarding Guam, and they get closer and closer, and right as they're about to open fire on the ship, it's a Japanese merchant vessel.
Huh.
Okay, that's weird, but I mean, what are you going to do? Just keep advancing, I guess, right? That ship and those forts got to be in there somewhere, so they keep advancing through the fog, and they keep advancing, and they keep advancing.
Germans
finally,
next,
they start to see the silhouette of one of the forts off in the distance through the fog. But the problem is the fort is built directly onto a cliff face, and it's so high that the guns on the ship aren't going to be able to actually fire at it. Well, now we've got a fucking problem, because the sun is fully out, and this fog is getting thinner and thinner by the second, so we're going to have to haul ass and try to get out of range of this fort as soon as possible. So that's what they do. They haul ass through this fog trying to get out of range of this fort, and they do it. They don't get fired on a single time. They made it through. Hooray. So now it's like broad daylight out.
I'm guessing ahead. Are the forts abandoned at this point? I don't pre-watch anything that I react to. Are the forts abandoned? Because that would be hilarious.
And they roll up on this second
He did say Mel Brooks movie,
they're going to be able to hit with the guns. It's finally go time. We get to show off our expert marksmanship. So they roll up, and they just start bombarding this fort with fire. They shoot at this fort like 13 times, missed every single time, and they got zero return fire from the fort. The entire crew is just completely confused. What the fuck is going on?
I come here for a shootout, right? Go, get out. Go off. A shootout, right? It's a fucking shootout!
So everybody looks at the captain like, Captain Glass, what are we going to do? And he's like, I don't know. I guess we'll get ready to go ashore and take over Guam on foot. I guess. Nobody wants to fight us on the water, apparently, so start getting the whaling boats ready, get your kit on, we're gonna go do this. So that's what they do. The whole crew starts getting ready, and while they're getting ready, they start to notice that there's a bunch of people amassing on the beach that they need to go to. So they're like, oh shit, this is gonna go down. We're gonna get in a fight on foot on this beach.
Isn't it?
It's go time. So they're getting their guns and their kit ready. You know, the intro scene to every military movie ever right before the big mission is going on at this exact moment. And right then, a little tiny boat full of a bunch of Spanish guys rolls up and boards their ship. And the first thing the Spanish guys say are, hey, sorry we didn't return the salute. We didn't have any black powder or guns ready to do that. And the Americans are like, what are you talking about?
Huh?
They're like, the salute you did earlier where you like fired when you passed support, you know, to salute us as a courtesy. And the Americans are like, no, dude, we're at war with one another. We just can't fucking aim, apparently. Come to find out, apparently Spain had just neglected to inform Guam that they were in fact at war with America. And this is horrible for the Spanish at this point because, well, the boarding party was actually like the welcoming committee / customs. And more or less, they were just coming out to the American ship to apologize for not saluting and then make sure the Americans weren't about to bring any illegal contraband or diseases onto the island and let them know the rules of the land. And it ends up being a humongous issue for the Spanish in hindsight because this welcoming committee was pretty much comprised of almost all of the Spanish officials on the island. Like the entire Spanish government present was pretty much on that welcoming committee.
Oh, wow. Spain not looking too good in this scenario. He was right. This was Mel Brooks.
With the exception of the governor and the treasurer. And then there was like one other dude that wasn't part of the government, but he was the biggest merchant on the island. His name was Francisco Portash, aka Frank. So they have basically just inadvertently turned over the entire government right off the bat. So at this point, Captain Glass is like, well, this is fucking perfect. And he picks like the 2 lowest ranking guys, writes a letter to the governor and is like, hey, surrender. I've captured all of your government officials.
Okay, I don't have time for this. Just surrender so we can call it a day and move on. We have your boys and I have more men. We already wasted enough ammo saluting, so let's help each other on the violence. Dope. Come on board and let's settle this. Thanks, Captain Henry Glaciers. Okay. That's what. Obviously, that is not the official word because I don't think dope was used back then.
And I have more men than you do. Why don't you just go ahead and call it a day? We don't need any violence whatsoever. They go off and they're going to hand deliver that letter to the governor. So while they're going to deliver that letter, the other ones are still talking with Captain Glass, and come to find out, Frank the merchant is actually an American. He was born in Spain. He migrated to America in Chicago, where he became a U.S. citizen. He then met his wife, married her, moved to San Francisco, became an elevator technician, and then for some reason got a wild hair up his ass, moved to Guam, and became the most successful merchant there. And to be honest, he's pretty pumped that America's taken over because he likes America more than he likes Spain. So he is still more than happy to help Captain Glass in any way he can. And he's like, hey, here's the deal. Just tell me what you want. Let me go back. Me and the boys will start ferrying out whatever supplies you need, and we'll just sell it to you right here. You won't even have to go ashore. So Captain Glass is like, perfect. He lets Frank take one of his boats back. He gets his men, and they just start shuttling back and forth boatloads and boatloads of supplies for all the Americans to buy. And this is like my favorite part of the story because it's just one of those things that you read and you're like, yep, that's too stupid to not be true. One of the Americans wrote in their journal, and I quote, Francisco's men sold fruit at astonishingly low prices. You could buy 3 bananas, 2 mangoes, and a pineapple for 1 cent, but one of the live monkeys cost 2 whole American dollars.
They brought them monkeys! Monkeys! First of all, get it back to where we can get that much fruit for a penny. Freaking inflation. And second of all, why would you buy a monkey to begin with?
It just goes to show you, war changes, but the men that fight it never do, because that's the most grunt shit I've ever heard in my entire life. Okay, now cut back to the 2 dudes delivering the letter of surrender to the governor. We'll call them Bob and Tom. Okay, Bob and Tom make it short. They start walking over to the governor's palace. They get about halfway there, and they notice that there's like 20 dudes pushing 6 brass cannons from the governor's house down the side of the road. And Bob and Tom look at each other, and they look at these guys, and they're like, holy shit, are we actually going to try to fight the Americans? And the guys pushing the cannons are like, what? No, we're just bringing these over from the governor's palace so we could return the salute to the Americans. And Bob and Tom are like, don't worry about it. Just put the cannons back.
God damn it.
So they just keep going. They get to the governor's palace. They give him the terms of surrender, at which point the governor's furious. But also, I mean, what's he going to do? He's got 54 Spanish soldiers, and then Guam has a militia of 52 guys with no training. He doesn't stand a chance. He basically has to surrender. But here's the catch with this whole thing. Captain Glass's letter to the governor actually instructs the governor basically to just hop on a boat and report to the American vessel and turn himself in, and that's not going to fly with the governor, so he writes a letter back that has to get delivered to Captain Glass. And that letter says, and I quote, "It would give me great pleasure to comply with his request and see you personally, but as the military laws of my country prohibit me from going aboard a foreign vessel, I regret to have to decline this honor and ask that you will kindly come ashore, where I await to exceed your wishes as far as possible, and to agree to our mutual situations, asking your pardon for the trouble I caused you, and I guarantee your safe return to your ship. Very respectfully, Governor Juan Marina." Okay, so obviously this...
That is the most casual, hey, sorry, I can't leave, but I will meet you at shore. I'll meet you halfway. That's the most casual way to discuss terms.
It's a trap, right? The government's planning something. That's a stupid rule. Nobody would actually follow that. So the Americans get this letter, they read it, and Captain Glass is like,
"It's undoubtedly a trap."
Okay, so now the Americans fill up one whaling boat with Captain Glass and a bunch of soldiers, and then another whaling boat just completely full of soldiers. Captain Glass and his boat are going to go ashore, where they're ideally going to accept this surrender, but it's probably a trap. And then that other whaling boat is going to wait right offshore in case they need reinforcements for when shit goes down. But to the American surprise, the governor shows up with his 54 soldiers and then his 52 militia members, and he just straight up surrenders. So they take the governor as a POW, they take all the weapons away from the Spaniards, they take all of them as POWs, then they take all the weapons from the militia, and then they're just kind of like, nah, you guys are from here. Go ahead and go home. We're just going to take the weapons. Get out of here. At this point, the governor is like, oh, hey, by the way, I wasn't able to find my treasurer, Jose Sixto. I have no idea where he is. Do you want me to send a search party to go find him so you can take him as a POW too? At which point, Captain Glass is like, I mean, this is a giant waste of my time, to be honest with you. No, I don't care. Let's just get everybody on the ship so I can leave. So they get everybody back to the ships. Captain Glass then takes a handful of Americans and sends them out to the fort that they had originally fired on, and they are instructed to fly the American flag over Guam because it is now a U.S. colony. So those guys grab a flag, hop in a boat, and they start sailing out to the fort. While that's going on, Captain Glass is telling everybody what happened. He's like, yeah, it wasn't an ambush. They actually did just straight up surrender. We took the governor as a POW, we took his 54 men as POWs, and then he had 52 militia members, but they were from Guam, so we just took their weapons and let them go home. At which point, one of the original guys from the welcoming committee, you know, the Spanish government, hears that, and he's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Technically, I was born here. I'm super duper Spanish, but I was born in Guam. Can I go home too? At which point, Captain Glass is like, yeah, fuck it. Why not? Go ahead. Then Captain Glass...
Holy shit, the laid backness of this whole scenario. I'm just imagining some Spanish official, full disclosure, I'm not versed in how the Spanish sound, like as far as their accents. I have a better shot of imitating a Mexican or Hispanic accent than original Spanish accent. So I don't know what the overlap is on accents. Probably not. So full disclosure before I do this. like, hey, what's going on down there? They're laughing and having fun. They just gave up. Why ain't you fighting, man? That is I've probably offended the Spanish. I actually apologize because I have no idea how the Spanish sound. I'm gonna have to educate myself on that. I apologize.
Glass looks over to Frank, the merchant, who's still there trying to sell as much stuff to the Americans as possible before they leave, and he's like, Frank, you're technically the only American here. I'm not going to leave any of my guys behind to run this place, so you're in charge, I guess. Now get off my boat and take not Spanish Guam guy with you. So Frank, his men, and the government official dude that's apparently from Guam all hop in their little boats and they go back over to Guam. By this point, the Americans have the flag flying over the fort. Captain Glass orders them to fire the cannon as a salute, and then the Americans start lowering the flag, and Captain Glass is like, these idiots are going to take the flag back with them, and we're going to colonize an entire island, and then we're not even going to leave a flag there so nobody knows that it's our territory. A little while after that, the American detail shows back up in their whaling boat with the American flag in hand, at which point Captain Glass is like, why? Why on earth would you take the flag down? And they're like, oh shit, I didn't even think about that. You want us to run back over there and hang it up? And Captain Glass is like, no, I don't. Just get in the ship. We're leaving. Just the complete dad energy of like, no, get your ass in the car. We're going to Manila. And that's it. Yeah. They bounce. Just the most nonchalant, ridiculous invasion / capture
it really
territory
is.
Ever. Okay, zero bloodshed. The Americans rolled up, captured the entire government, captured the entire military, put nobody else back in charge other than some random dude claiming to be an American that's named Frank. And then they didn't even give him like documentation or anything. Just
not even a basic, hey, papers please, like, where's your birth certificate? None of that. It's like, hey, I'm from Chicago, man. Like, none of that. I've got to say before the video concludes that even though he has gotten excellent at telling the more serious stories, I love hearing funny stuff like this that actually happened. So, Fat Electrician, if you could find more funny stories having to do with American military history, or just military history in general, just amazing.
Literally gave him the verbal, hey, you're in charge now. So Frank is literally just showing back up on the beach in a boat, being like, hey, the teacher said I get to be the line leader, motherfuckers.
Beautiful morning. Keep it running.
Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, I'm trying to tell you that I believe this is the first time that America created a gigantic power vacuum and then just left it completely unsupervised. But not to worry, yeah. I'm almost positive that America is going to learn from this mistake the first time and will never ever do it again.
You will be punished for your decadent ways on the first day of Radaman. You... wait a minute, wait, did I just say, what did I say, Radaman? Blah, 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 blah.
Okay, for real though, I need you guys to fully grasp how crazy this situation is for Guam, okay? Imagine that you woke up tomorrow and the American government was gone. The cops, gone. The military, gone. Nobody knows what happened, and there's just one dude named Frank that said, hey, Joe Biden put me in charge. Fucking what?
What's your response to that, sir?
You know what? No, I'm gonna be optimistic. This is gonna go great. This is a recipe for...
Oops. On the bright side, that would mean no more ATF. I gotta look at the positives here.
Success. So Captain Glass and the Americans make their way over to Manila. They're going to reinforce Dewey. They show up, and honestly, they're probably not even really needed as far as overthrowing the Spanish goes, because Emilio went ashore. He started an entire revolution all over again, and they have been laying siege to Manila for weeks at this point. So the Spanish government knows that they're going to have to surrender. There's no way they can win this now, but they would way rather surrender to America because America is a world power, and they don't want to have to surrender to a local revolution because that would be bad for their colonial empire street cred. So the Spanish leadership of Manila goes to Admiral Dewey, and they're like, hey, hear me out. We want to surrender just to American forces, so we have to get in a battle with just American forces. We're proposing that we have a fake mock battle for funsies. We'll like choreograph it. We won't load our guns. It'll just be for show, and we'll surrender only to American forces and keep our reputation intact, and you guys get to take over Manila. What do you say? The Americans obviously agree because not dying is cool, and that's what they do. They have this enormous mock battle, and nobody has loaded guns, and obviously nobody told the guerrilla fighters because, well, that was the entire point, and then some of them joined in, and their guns definitely were loaded, and 49 Spanish soldiers ended up getting shot, and then the Spanish started returning fire because they didn't know what was going on, so then 6 Americans got shot and killed. But other than that, the mock battle was kind of successful, I guess.
Yeah, I stabbed a man in the heart. I saw that. Brick killed a guy. Yeah, horses and a man on fire.
So the Spanish surrendered, America takes over Manila, and the Spanish-American War would be concluded in December of 1898, and that would end with America now having Guam and Puerto Rico as colonies, and then they would also purchase the Philippines from...
Oh, so that's how Puerto Rico got included in our... that's how we got Puerto Rico. Okay, good to know. I've actually got a friend from Puerto Rico. So, cool.
The Spanish for $20 million. And needless to say, Emilio Aguinaldo, the Filipino revolutionary, is fucking furious, you know, by the whole lack of Filipino independence and whatnot. Understandably so. Which pretty much immediately leads into the Philippine-American War that started like a month later in February of 1899. And the whole thing is just a timeless American classic. America gets guerrillas to do the dirty work for them. Guerrillas overthrow government. Now America has to fight the same guerrillas. History repeats itself. Anyways, back to the main focal point.
Sure are a lot of rhymes here.
Last time we heard about them was June 21st, 1898, when Henry Glass left. Nobody's been there since, okay? An American vessel finally pulls up on January 1st, 1899. And when the Americans got there, the island was literally on the brink of civil war. Like, they were standing there with guns ready to open fire on one another when they noticed the American vessel pulling up, and they decided to postpone till tomorrow. So the Americans show up and they start trying to figure out what's going on. Both sides of this seemingly about to break out civil war plead their case, and essentially when Frank showed back up to the beach and said, hey, I'm in charge now, some people didn't really give a fuck. Imagine that. And the one person that cared the least was actually the treasurer that got left behind, which makes sense. He was the last person part of the Spanish government, so in his perspective, he probably should have been in charge. Unfortunately, he was also the only person that had keys to the treasury, and he made the executive decision that he was going to go ahead and give him and all of his buddies an 18-month advance on their salary, basically bankrupting the entire country. So because Jose and all of his buddies had all the money, they basically had all the power, and they were essentially in charge, and this went on for a little while, and then eventually Frank and some of the other people there got mad and started a pro-America group, and things started to escalate and escalate and escalate. Oh boy. And eventually war was about to break out, and then the Americans finally showed back up. So the Americans audit the treasury,
it's like dad leaving the house, and it's the two siblings left, and he looks and goes, y'all behave, leaves, and then comes back, finds out one of the kids got a hammer and the other kid's got a kitchen knife, and they're both glaring at each other like they're gonna kill each other, and he's like, what are you two dumbasses doing? And then they go, nothing.
determine that Jose did in fact steal all the money. They order him to pay it back, and then the American captain appoints a man by the name of Joaquin Perez to be the governor. He picks out his own cabinet, and now Guam actually has a government. At which point the American ship captain basically informs the new Guam government that they are under the authority of the United States Navy. Anything that was Spanish lands is now American lands, and other than that, here's your American flags. We're gonna fucking dip out. And then the Americans left again. They don't hear anything for a couple more months. Then randomly another American ship shows up, but they go to check him out. He's just there to pick up coal. He picks up some coal. He leaves. Couple more months pass. Nothing exciting happens. And then one day a Spanish military ship shows up. And this is where the pucker factor kicks in, because the Americans took all the weapons and the people of Guam can't defend themselves. So basically they're just going to have to switch flags again. But to their surprise, the Spanish actually didn't want to try to take over Guam again. They were just there to pick up some of their military equipment, and they had permission from a U.S. Army general, at which point the new government of Guam goes, oh, that's unfortunate because we are directly under the authority of the U.S. Navy. I don't give a fuck about the U.S. Army. Get off my island. And that's it. They kick the Spanish off their island and don't let them take their stuff back. And then finally in August of 1899, another American ship shows up. The captain of that ship declares himself the military governor of Guam, and from that point forward, Guam is basically administered as if it were a U.S. warship. There is a captain in charge. He has a crew stationed with him there, earning it the nickname the USS Guam, and it would remain functioning in that fashion until 1941, when it was attacked by the Japanese during World War II, and then America would reclaim it in 1944.
First time was way easier. Yeah, no shit.
Yet another reason as to why you do not fuck with America's boats. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel.
Yeah, it always comes back to the boats somehow.
Quack bang out.
How does it always come back to the freaking boats?
Hey, real quick, actually, I do have an announcement to make. Me and a bunch of my YouTube friends have been working on something for a long time, and it finally came out. Basically, we all had the same problem. We all had monetization issues and censorship issues on a bunch of different platforms, and we were pretty much faced with two different options. We could just sit around and bitch about it and wait for somebody else to fix it, or we could go fix it ourselves. So that's what we're trying to do. We built our own streaming platform. It's called Pepperbox TV. This project came out way better than I ever thought it could when we started. This thing looks and feels like Netflix. It is both a website that you can stream from, and we have an app in the Apple App Store, the Android App Store, and it works on most smart TVs. Nothing's changing on YouTube. I'm going to upload everything just as I always have, but if you wanted to go check out pepperbox.tv, when you do it, it's going to cost you $7.99 a month, and in exchange for that, you're going to get all of my videos on all of my channels.
Plus all your buddies.
100%. Even the in-video integrations that I do are cut out as well. And for $7.99, you're not just getting access to my content, you're getting access to the entire platform. We have all the content ad-free from a bunch of my friends, like Administrative Results, Donut Operator, Brandon Herrera, Grand Thumb, Micah Mayfield, the Unsubscribed Podcast,
yeah, that's
Rich,
where I found
Mr.
out about
Happy
this.
Firefighters, and a couple of other guys, and we're hopefully going to keep adding more content creators as we go. So again, nothing's changing here on YouTube. I'm still going to upload everything, but if you wanted to try it out ad-free or just check out the platform, we do have a free 14-day trial. It's available at pepperbox.tv. Go check it out. Or don't. Up to you. Whatever.
Go check it out.
Thanks for watching. Quack bang out.
That's legit cool. They noticed a problem. They're like, fuck it, we're going to do our own shit.
Need my drink.
You'll still get our...
Friday.
Hold up. I didn't know he was going to do that. What?
Need my drinking hat. It's Friday.
Okay, so now he's got extra credit scenes. Okay, good to know. So, all right. But yeah, that like legitimately, that is amazing that people like him realized, yeah, YouTube is run by absolute tards right now. People got their own thumb up their ass. You like, oh, you say this certain joke or you say this certain thing. It doesn't matter what the context is. F you. We're gonna make our own shit, and we're gonna get all the funds given to us from subscribers over there, and y'all can't touch that. So if we go down over on YouTube, we still got somewhere guys can come join us and screw off of YouTube. Like, I'm all for it. That's why I have additional channels elsewhere. I have an ODYSEE and I have a Rumble. The links to those are in the description. And they're supposed to sync up all the videos as they upload. So, like, I upload a video here on YouTube. I don't have to do an extra upload on those other sites. They're supposed to sync up and upload over there automatically. It ain't perfect. I will say that. It is not perfect. Because there have been videos, when I first made my Rumble, pretty much everything prior to that was in the pending, And then there would be times when one or two videos, like every other video, would be stuck in pending for a while, which I'm sure that's still going on, but there are a lot of videos over there that are the same as what you could see on here. So if something happens to me here on YouTube, it's very possible that I'm not going to... It is a possibility that I may jump ship to go somewhere like Rumble, where they don't screw you over so bad. And I applaud the Fat Electrician and his friends for making their own platform that they can go to, that they can say, hey, this is our little corner of the internet. If you guys want to come in, come on. I love that. But anyways, that was absolutely hilarious. That really was. I'm trying to think of a comedic bit that I can compare it to, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head. So, but it's getting hot in this room. I live in Georgia. It's like still in this high 70s. And when you grew up in Alaska, like me, you're more susceptible to heat. I actually have a proposal to the Fat Electrician. Let's see, freaking mosquito. I'll get him in a second. Oh. Or the spider will. Anyways, here's an idea to the Fat Electrician. The Alaska side of World War II. I want to see that. I want to see him do a video on that, because there are a lot of people that don't know Alaska's contributions to the war effort. And this was when Alaska was a territory, not quite a state yet. That didn't happen until 1959. But one of the last Zeros ever piloted crash landed there, and then American engineers were able to fix it and then let a pilot basically take that sucker out for a spin, and for quite a few spins, and go like, okay, how do you work? Okay, you do good on this. Oh, good work there. Okay, so this is how we can make adjustments to our combat strategy against the Zeros here. And then during that whole war effort, only 2 islands were captured by the Japanese, if I'm remembering correctly. So, but I would love to see the Fat Electrician do a video on the Alaska side of World War II, which some Alaskans refer to as the Forgotten War. Fucking mosquito. Anyways, I'm gonna wrap this up. This was absolutely hilarious. I was not expecting the communist tangent, but every chance he gets to dunk on communism, I'm gonna clap and support and say, "Preach, brother, preach!" Anyways, what did you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Like if you enjoyed. Comment what your favorite part of this video was. I don't know if I can narrow it down. That's some funny stuff. like, hey, sorry we forgot to salute you. Salute? Yeah, that's what you were doing, right? No, we were trying to kill you. Oh. Okay, then. Subscribe if you're new, and tap the bell to get notified whenever I upload a video so you don't miss any reactions, gameplay, or otherwise from me. Also, go check out my Discord. Link is in the description. Come join. We will talk, post memes, songs, videos, artwork. You can self-promote your own stuff and just have some fun. This has been Lance Corporal Hawk 30, signing off.